it's been. Does anybody know where Jyotiben is? Because the recording has stopped as well.
Hi, Krishna Prabhuji. I had some technical problem. I was logged out. I've just come back.
Okay, sure, Jyotiben. So if you could carry on recording and share the screen, or do you want me to share?
Yes, 1 minute, Prabhuji. Everything's just lost. Give me 1 second. I'll share. Okay. What text are we on now?
Text 6 and 7. Mataji completed the Sanskrit, right, Mataji? You know, Mataji?
No, I did the text 6,
Okay.
not the 7.
6 and 7 are together.
Yeah. So I read the 6, but not the 7. I don't know if you want me to do it again.
Yeah,
Bob.
you can read from 6 and 7, Leela Mataji.
Yeah. Text 6 and 7. Parvato Narato Dromyo Bhagavan Badarayana Bruhascho Bharatvajaha Sashishyo Renukasita Vashishta Indra Pramadastrito Gruta Samadositaha Kakshivana Gautamo Trischa Kaushikotha Sudarshana.
All the sages like Parvata Muni, Narada, Daumya, Vyasa, the incarnation of God, Brihadaswa, Bharadwaja, and Parasara and disciples, Vasishta, Indra Pramada, Trita, Grustamada, Asita, Kakshivan, Gautama, Arti, Kausika, and Sudarsana were present.
Anyecha Muniyo Brahman Brahmarata Dayo Mala Shishe Rupeta Ajapnu Kashyapandi Rasa Daya.
And many others like Sukadeva Goswami and other purified souls, Kasyapa and Angirasa and others, all accompanied by their respective disciples, arrived there.
Tan Sametan Mahabhaga Nupalabhya Vasuttamaha Pujayamasa Dharmagyo Deshakala Vibhagavit.
Bhishmadeva, who was the best amongst the 8 Vasus, received and welcomed all the great and powerful rishis who were assembled there, for he knew perfectly all the religious principles according to time and place.
Krishnam Chatat Prabhavagya Asinam Jagadishwaram Radhistham Pujayamasa Maya Yopata Vigraham.
Lord Sri Krishna is situated in everyone's heart, yet he manifests his transcendental form by his internal potency. This very Lord was sitting before Bhishmadeva, and since Bhishmadeva knew of his glories, he worshipped him duly.
Panduputra Anupa Sinan Prakshay Prakshay Prakshaya Prema Sangatan Abhyachastanuraga Shri Randi Bhutena Chakshusha.
The sons of Maharaj Pandu were sitting silently nearby, overtaken with affection for their dying grandfather. Seeing this, Bhishmadeva congratulated them with feeling. There were tears of ecstasy in his eyes, for he was overwhelmed by love and affection.
Aho kastamaho nanyam yadyum dharmanandana jivitum nahartha liksham vipradharmaschuta shraya.
Bhishmadeva said, "Oh, what terrible sufferings and what terrible injustice you good souls suffer for being the sons of religion personified. You didn't deserve to remain alive under those turbulences, yet you were protected by the Brahmanas, God, and religion.
Samsiste tirthe pander prathabala prajavadu yudmat krute bahun kaleshan prapta tokavati mohum.
As far as my daughter-in-law Kunti is concerned, upon the great General Pandu's death, she became a widow with many children, and therefore she suffered greatly. And when you were grown up, she suffered a great deal also because of your actions.
Sarvam kalakrutam manye bhavatam cha yada priyam sapalo yadvashe loko vayo riva dhanavale.
In my opinion, this is all due to inevitable time, under whose control everyone in every planet is carried, just as the clouds are carried by the wind.
Yatra dharma suto raja gada pani prako Krishnotri Gandivam Chapam Suhurt Krishnastato Vipat.
Oh, how wonderful is the influence of inevitable time! It is irreversible. Otherwise, how can there be reverses in the presence of King Yudhishthira, the sons of the demigod controlling religion, Bhima, the great fighter with a club, the great bowman Arjuna with his mighty weapon Gandiva, and above all, the Lord, the direct well-wisher of the Pandavas?
Nahyasya Kahi Chitrajan Pumana Veda Videstitam Yadvejikya Saya Yukta Muhyanti Kavayo Vihi.
O King, no one can know the plan of the Lord, Sri Krishna. Even though great philosophers inquire exhaustively, they are bewildered.
Tasmadidam Devatantram Vyasya Bharatarshapa Tasyano Vihito Natha Natha Pahi Praja Prabhu.
O best among the descendants of Bharata, Yudhishthira, I maintain, therefore, that all this is within the plan of the Lord. Accepting the inconceivable plan of the Lord, you must follow it. You are now the appointed administrative head, and my Lord, you should now take care of those subjects who are now rendered helpless.
Aishave Bhagavan Saksha Dvado Narayana Brahma Mohaya Mayaya Lokam Grudascharati Vishnushu.
This Sri Krishna is no other than the inconceivable original personality of Godhead. He is the first Narayana, the supreme enjoyer. But he is moving amongst the descendants of King Rishni, just one of us, and he is bewildering us with his self-created energy.
Asyanubhavam Bhagavan Veda Guhatyam Shivam Devashi Narada Saksha Dragvan Kapilo Nuva.
O King, Lord Shiva, Narada, the sage amongst the demigods, and Kapila, the incarnation of Godhead, all know very confidently about his glories through direct contact.
Yamanyase Matulayam Priyam Mitram Suhatatam Akaro Sachivam Drutam Soradeya Tatha Sarathim.
O king, the personality whom, out of ignorance only, you taught to be your material cousin, your very dear friend, well-wisher, counselor, messenger, benefactor, etc., is that very personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna.
सर्वात्मनः समादृशो भद्रयस्य नः कृते तत्कृतं मतिवैश्यं निरवद्रस्य न क्वचिन्.
Being the absolute personality of Godhead, He is present in everyone's heart. He is equally kind to everyone, and He is free from false ego of differentiation. Therefore, whatever He does is free from material inebriety. He is equibalanced.
तथाप्येकान्तभक्तेषु यस्य भूपानुकम्पितं यन्मे सुस्तयजत साक्षात् कृष्णो दर्शनमागतः.
Yet, despite His being equally kind to everyone, He has graciously come before me while I am ending my life, for I am His unflinching servitor.
भक्त्या वैश्यमनो यस्मिन् वाचा यत्मानकेतयम् त्यजन क्लेवरं योगी मुच्यते कामकर्मभिः.
The personality of Godhead, who appears in the mind of the devotees by attentive devotion and meditation and by chanting of the holy name, releases the devotee from the bondage of fruitive activities at the time of his quitting the material body.
सदैव देवो भगवान् प्रतीक्षतां क्लेवरं यावदिदं हिनोम्यहम् प्रसन्नः लोचनो लसन् मुखाम्बुजो ध्यानपथश्चतुर्भुजः.
May my Lord, who is four-handed and whose beautifully decorated lotus face, with eyes as red as the rising sun, is smiling, kindly await me at that moment when I quit this material body.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Please forgive me for any mistakes.
Thank you, Leela Mataji, and thank you for God, Prabhu.
Me
Very
too.
nicely recited, both Sanskrit and English. So I'm just going to share my screen now.
Prabhuji, I can't see you. How do I make you host?
On
Just
the
click. Okay.
yeah,
No,
on
I
the
can't see.
on the right hand side there should be an information where you could make me a host.
Yes, I have made you host now.
Okay. Okay, everybody can see that screen.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, great, thank you. So the verse today we're going to cover for tonight's chapter, Chad, is Canto 1, Chapter 9, verse 12 and 13. So I'm just going to recite the invocation prayers too. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritcham Naram Chaiva Narotanam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraya Nastashu Bhadreshu Nitya Bhagavata Sevaya. Sorry. Nastashu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavata Mutam Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. So Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9, verse 12. Aho Kashtam Aho Nyayam Yajuyam Dharmanandana Jivutam Nahata Klishtam Vipradama Chutashraya. So word for word meaning. Aho, oh, Kashtam, what terrible sufferings. Aho, oh, Anyavam, Anyavyam, what terrible injustice. Yet, because Yuyam, all you good souls, Dharmanandana, son of religion personified, Jivutam, to remain alive, Na, never, Ahata, deserve, Klishtam, suffering, Vipra, Brahmanas, Dharma, piety, Achyuta, God, Ashrayaha, being protected by. Translation. Bhishmadev said, "Oh, what terrible sufferings and what terrible injustices you good souls suffer for being the sons of religion personified. You did not deserve to remain alive under those tribulations, yet you were protected by the Brahmanas, God, and religion." Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Maharaj Yudhishthira was disturbed due to the great massacre in the Battle of Kurukshetra. Bhishmadev could understand this, and therefore he spoke first of the terrible sufferings of Maharaj Yudhishthira. He was put into a difficulty by injustice only. The Battle of Kurukshetra was fought just to counteract this injustice. Therefore, he should not regret the great massacre. He wanted to point out particularly that they were always protected by the Brahmanas, the Lord, and religious principles. As long as they were protected by these three important items, there was no cause of disappointment. Thus, Bhishmadev encouraged Maharaj Yudhishthira to dissipate his despondency as long as a person is fully in cooperation with the wishes of the Lord, guided by the bona fide Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, and strictly following religious principles. One has no cause for despondency. However, trying the circumstances of life, Bhishmadev, as one of the authorities in the line, wanted to impress this point upon the Pandavas. Just read the next verse as well. This is verse 13. Samstite tirate pando pita pala prajavadu yusmat kritev bahud kleshan prapta tokavat muhum. Just for the word translation, samstite, after the demise, atirate, of the great general, Pandu, Pita Kunti, Pala Praja, having young children, Padu, my daughter-in-law, Yusmat Krite, on your account, Bahun, multifarious, Kleshan, afflictions, Prapta, underwent, Tokavati, in spite of having grown up boys, Muhu, constantly. Translation, as far as my daughter-in-law, Kunti, is concerned, upon the great General Pandu's death, she became a widow with many children. Therefore, she suffered greatly. And when they were grown up, she suffered a great deal also because of your actions. So I'll recite the invocation prayers. Om Jnana Timrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmanitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Tamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaiva cha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I'd like to offer my respectful obeisances to my spiritual master, Bhakti Swami, Namo Vishnupadaya, Krishna Pishta Bhutale, Shimanti Bhakti Swami Tinamine, and also to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya, Krishna Pishta Bhutale, Shimanti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamine, Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Pracharine, Nirveshesa Sunyavadi Pashyachara Disatharana. Kindly ask for the blessings so that I may be able to speak on the topics of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Also kindly ask for your blessings as well to all the listeners, that I may be able to say something that is also increases your devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Shri Krishna. And please forgive me for any mistakes. So first of all, let's understand who Bhishma Dev is. He's actually one of the 12 Mahajans. Now, just to understand the story behind this scene, is lying on a bed of arrows shot by Arjuna during the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Bhishma Dev actually made a vow to Duryodhana that every day I would kill 10,000 soldiers, and he fulfilled that promise. And towards the end, Duryodhana was getting very frustrated with Bhishma Dev. You've killed all these the other army, the members of the army, but you have not killed a single Pandava at all. You know, you're withholding your powers, supremacy. And he was actually very powerful. He actually had a big battle with Parashuram. Parashuram himself is actually an incarnation of Lord Vishnu, and I'll describe that story a little later on, and also go into detail about the greatness and qualities of Bhishma Dev. So even though he was withholding himself, eventually he made a vow to Duryodhana to say, okay, today either I will kill one of the Pandavas or I shall be killed myself. And it so happened by Krishna's divine intervention, Arjuna released the arrows and it killed Bhishma Dev, and he's lying just about to leave his body. And while they're actually contemplating on the millions of personalities who were killed during the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Yudhishthira is feeling very remorse. He regrets taking place this battlefield. He said he should have been happy as he was. Why did he go through all the fighting? Why did he want to take arms against his own spiritual master, his grandfather Bhishma Dev, his cousins? But at that time, the war was inevitable. Even though Lord Krishna tried to pacify the Pandavas and the Kauravas on many occasions, in fact, he was the mediator to bring about peace, tried in so many ways to make peace. Even Lord Balaram, he tried to make peace as well. He went to Hastinapura, and what did they do? They actually laughed at him, they ignored him, they didn't actually take any sort of understanding that Balaram was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Lord Balaram, with his plow, because of their impudence, he actually dragged the Hastinapura, pulled it out from his ground, the whole city, and he dragged it across, and he was going to throw it into the Ganga. They quickly had to pacify Lord Balaram. Please, please, please forgive us. So even though there were so many opportunities for them to actually make peace with the Pandavas, they refused. Even Lord Krishna, when he went to Duryodhana, he tried to tell him, you know, why don't you just give 5 villages to the Pandavas, they'll be happy. But Duryodhana was so envious, so greedy, that he said he wouldn't even give them a land which is the size of a tip of a pin. So as Krishna was about to leave, they were trying to attack Krishna as well, and he actually turned himself into the partial universal form. Even seeing the universal form, they could not understand that he was the Supreme Lord, Krishna himself. So to understand a bit more about Bhishma Dev, he is considered to be one of the 12 Mahajans. Does anybody know any of the other Mahajans at all?
Brahma, Shiva,
Brahmaji, Narada,
Narada,
Yes. Brahma, Shiva, Narada. Who else?
Janak Maharaj,
Yeah, Janak Maharaj. He's supposed to be there. Yes.
Shukadeva Goswami,
Bhishma Dev,
Krishna, Drona,
Not Dronacharya. Bhishma Dev, yes.
Shukadeva Goswami, was it?
Yes, Sukadev Goswami.
Mhm.
Janak Maharaj, yes, you're right. Actually,
Janak
somebody
Maharaj.
mentioned. Okay, I'll share this beautiful verse with everyone. This is from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Does anybody want to read this? This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 3. Hang on a minute. This isn't the right one. Oh, yes, it is. Sorry. This is text 20 and 21. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, chapter 3, verse 20 and 21. Does anybody want to recite that under translation?
I can
Krish-
do it.
Krishangi Mataji, yes.
Yeah. Shall I do the Sanskrit first?
Yeah, please, yeah.
Shayambhu Narada Sambhu Kumara Kapila Munu Palado Janako Bhishma Bali Hoya Sakhi Gayam Dadasi Seti Vijatmit Mo Dharmam Bhagavatam Pata Guyam Vishudam Durbodham Yam Natva Mritam Asnute. Translation. Lord Brahma, Bhagwan Narad, Lord Shiva, the four Kumars, Lord Kapila, the son of Devahuti, Shambhuva, Manu, Prahlad Maharaj, Janak Maharaj, grandfather Bhishma, Bali Maharaj, Sukhdev Goswami, and I myself know the real religious principles. My dear servants, this transcendental religious principle, which is known as Bhagavad Dharma, or surrender unto the Supreme Lord and love for Him, is uncontaminated by the material modes of nature. It is very confidential and difficult for ordinary human beings to understand. But if by chance one fortunately understands it, he is immediately liberated, and thus he returns home back to Godhead. Hare
Yeah,
Krishna.
thank you so much, Krishangi Mataji. So those are the 12 Mahajans. So the one who's speaking, who's the one speaking? Does anybody know? Who's the 12th Mahajan?
Krishna?
No, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
No, here he said, and I myself know the real religious principle. So that's why I thought is Krishna speaking.
Oh, yes, sorry, Krishna Mataji. It's
What was
another
the question,
personality.
Prabhu? What was the question?
The question was, who's the person who's actually recited this? Who's the 12th Mahajan?
Ramya,
Yamaraj, did you
Yamaraj.
mention? Yes. So Yamaraj is the 12th Mahajan. So the reason why I wanted to show this is because just to show how important Bhishma Dev was. He was as important as Lord Shiva, as Lord Brahma, as Bhagavan Narada Muni. So he's not just an ordinary personality, and yet he was lying on the bed of arrows. He's looking at Lord Krishna. He's been surrounded by the Pandavas. All the great demigods as well are there, the great sages, Vyasadeva, as the devotees recited earlier on. Now, the purpose of these Mahajans, as it mentions down there, they're actually to uphold Dharma, Bhagavad Dharma, so we could actually surrender unto the Supreme Lord. So sometimes there are different sampradayas as well. So in this particular case, those who want to worship Lord Shiva and Lord Krishna, there's 4 particular sampradayas. Does anybody know what those 4 sampradayas are?
Lakshmi,
Brahma.
Rudra,
Brahma,
Brahma
and
Supardaya, Rudra Supardaya, Sampardaya.
Very good. Very good. So the first one is, yes,
Lakshmi
Sri
and
Sampradaya.
Kumar brother.
Shri
Yes.
Sampradaya.
Kumara Sampardaya.
Kumar
Yeah.
Sampradaya.
Yeah, that's good. So you all know. So Brahma Sampradaya, and there's the Sri Sampradaya, which is Lakshmi Devi, the goddess of fortune, Sampradaya. And then there's also the 4 Kumara Sampradaya, sometimes known as the Nikamba Sampradaya. And what was the 4th one? Lord Shiva Sampradaya,
Rudra.
sometimes known as Rudra Sampradaya. So these are the 4 sampradayas. So when you actually follow these sampradayas, you're actually learning or following the cyclic succession into learning more about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, either through Radha Krishna or Lord Vishnu. Now, which is the sampradaya that we follow?
Brahma Sampardaya.
Yes,
Brahma.
and specifically the Gaudiya Vaishnava
Brahma,
sampradaya.
Gaudiya, Vaishnava.
Yes, that's it. Thank you, Krishna Mataji. The Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, which comes under Brahma Sampradaya. So we followed Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sometimes the Gaudiya Sampradaya is also the followers of Srimati Radharani. Gaudiya, or sometimes referred to as Gora, refers to the golden complexion of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srimati Radharani. So this is something very interesting because although you can be in any Sampradaya, but ultimately you can still actually attain to the Supreme Personality of God by following the scriptures, following the authorities, following the rules and regulations by the Sampradaya. Although it's mentioned that ISKCON is a small sort of division of Gaudiya Math, but the ISKCON society has been specifically created for establishment within the Western audience as well. So normally within the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, you wouldn't necessarily have certain functions of services done by, say, for instance, ladies. There's restrictions in some sampradayas. They may not be able to go on the altar to do Brahminical services. But Srila Prabhupada is so kind and so merciful that it's allowed this facility to be opened up to anybody, even the lower class personalities, not personalities, the lower class people. And it's allowed even the women to actually do Brahminical services, even though he was criticized heavily by God brothers, by other sort of sampradayas, but still he was happy to do that. Why? Because he knew that this was the opportunity to allow them to become connected to Krishna. So just following on from I mentioned about some more glorifications of Lord Bhishmadev. So I hope you don't mind me sharing this, because it's actually, because we're going to be reading the whole chapter of this particular pastime of Lord Bhishma's teachings to Yudhishthira Maharaj and the Pandavas. I thought I may share this with everybody. Does anybody want to read this? It may take about 10 minutes, but it's just to get ourselves into understanding who Lord Bhishma is and the background behind Bhishmadev. Some of you may know the story, but this is a good opportunity for newcomers to also read and understand. So if there's a new person here on the chat group, if they want to read.
I can read, Prabhuji. Mhm.
Yeah, sure. Kusumataji, yeah, go ahead, yeah. And I'll tell you when to stop, yeah?
Mhm. Bhishma recounts the story in the Udyog Parva of the Mahabharata, but first some background. Bhishma was the son of Shantanu, king of Hastinapur, and the goddess Ganga. But Ganga abandoned Shantanu, and Shantanu later fell in love with a woman named Satyavati. But Satyavati's adopted father, Matsyagandha, the chief of a fisherman tribe, wouldn't consent to the marriage because he was afraid that Bhishma and his descendants would rule Hastinapur rather than Satyavati's children. So Bhishma made a vow that he would never become king and that he would remain celibate so that his descendants would never claim the throne. It's because of that terrible vow that he got the name Bhishma. Then Matsyagandha agreed to the marriage, and in due course of time, Shantanu and Satyavati had two sons, Vichitravirya and Chitrangada. When Shantanu died, Chitrangada became king, but he soon died after a confrontation with a Gandharva because two of them had the same name. Yes, really.
So that portion, I'm not 100% sure, because I've just taken this particular quote because it gives us hypnosis of who Bhishmadev is. And I wanted to go on a little further. I'll just read the next phrase quickly. So the throne now fell to Vichitravirya, who had no wives, but Bhishma heard that the king of Kashi was holding a swayamvara for his daughters, Amba, Ambika, and Ambilika. So Bhishma went to Kashi to win those princesses for Vichitravirya. He kidnapped the three princesses, fighting all the kings of the world. When they tried to stop him and brought them back to Hastinapura, but then the eldest princess Amba informed Bhishma that she was in love with a king named Shalva. So Bhishma allowed her to go back to him, but Shalva wasn't willing to take her back because he had been abducted by another man. So just to carry on a little bit more on the story, so Ambika, she actually goes to back to Bhishmadev and said, look, he's rejected me, now you have to marry me as well. But Bhishma, because he made a vow, he was reluctant to actually get married to anybody at all. So Amba was so furious with Bhishma for ruining her life, she went to take revenge, and she went to Parashuram to ask help to kill Bhishma. But Parashuram was also reluctant to do so because Bhishma was his former student. But then somehow or another, Parashuram was convinced by another sage, Akritavana, to please help somebody who's asked for your assistance. So then he asked Bhishma to come to battle with Parashuram. So this is Parashuram. Hope you don't mind. I'm just going a little faster because we've only got. Since Bhishma, in the process of kidnapping the three princesses, had defeated all kings of the world in battle, Parashuram was allowed to fight him. So he said, "Take this maiden with me. I will prepare myself to replace where Bhishma is." Okay? And if Bhishma doesn't obey me, then I will slay the arrogant white. So Bhishma takes up this challenge with Parashuram. So this is the place where they actually fought. It was actually the same place, Kurukshetra, before the Mahabharata war took place. And then Bhishma came and said his former guru. Of course, Bhishma wouldn't have just fought his guru just like that, because his guru actually mentioned that you have to fight me. Then he took that as an order from his spiritual master. Okay. And then they had a big battle. They had a big fight. In fact, it was said that the battle took longer. According to this, the first great battle fought in Kurukshetra commenced. The more famous Kurukshetra war between the Pandavas and the Kauravas took 18 days, but the war between these two heroes took 24 days. By the 23rd night, Bhishma had tried all the maneuvers and weapons he could think of, but none of them were able to defeat Parashuram. Of course, you've got to remember that Parashuram is the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a Shakti of Avatar, and it's only by his Yogamaya potency that he allowed Bhishma Dev to win eventually. So he prayed that the gods would suggest path of victory while he slept. Like the Mahabharata war, this Kurukshetra battle was fought between sunrise and sunset every day. And sure enough, in a dream, the gods were told him that they would give him the knowledge of the Prashwapastra, a weapon formerly wielded by the god Dyaspita, because Bhishma is an incarnation of Dyaspita. So next day, Bhishma suddenly gained the knowledge of the Prashwapastra, but when he tried to use it, Narada and the other gods came and stopped him. Here is Bhishma's account of it. When I had aimed it, Narada addressed me, saying, "Yonder, Kauravya, stay the gods in the sky. Even they are forbidding thee today. Do not aim the Prashwapa weapon. Rama is an ascetic possessed of Brahma merit, and he is again the preceptor. Never Kauravya humiliate him." While Narada was telling me this, I beheld those 8 utteras of Brahma stationed in the sky. So then he goes on to say a few more words. "O king, they said unto me slowly, O chief of the Bharatas, do even what Narada said, even that our best of Bharata's race is highly beneficial to the world." So, of course, Parashuram surrendered and he allowed Bhishma Dev to defeat him in such a way. But although he never yielded a weapon, he was stopped by Narada Muni. And shortly thereafter, Parashuram was approached by the spirits of his ancestors, who simply told him to stop fighting because Parashuram wasn't supposed to act like a Kshatriya anymore, because Bhishma was destined to die at the hands of another. So then it goes on. But the reason why I wanted to share that with you is just to show you how powerful Bhishma Dev was, that he wasn't able to be killed by anybody at all whatsoever. No personality could kill him. He could actually die at any moment as he would like to. Now, I was just going to go a little bit more into the next verse, which is explaining about Pinkuti's suffering. Now, you recall a few days ago, we did a summary on the prayers of Queen Kunti to Lord Krishna as he departs for Dwarka. And Kunti Devi, of course, is saying so many prayers to Lord Krishna that, we're so grateful that you've actually been there, been protecting the Pandavas all along. If it hadn't been for your sort of intervention, then we would have been killed a long time ago. And then there was a particular verse from that particular chapter 8. Just trying to see if I could recall where it is. Okay, I can't remember from the top of my head, but actually there was many incidents where the Pandavas were actually being attacked or in some way tried to be killed by the Kauravas. Now, does anybody remember what sort of ways that the Kauravas tried to kill the Pandavas?
Lakshagra.
Yeah.
And
Tried to poison
the-
them.
poison the
them.
Bhima.
Yep, they tried to poison them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, humiliate Queen Draupadi and send them to the forest.
Very good, Krishna Mataji. Yes, they humiliated Queen Draupadi in front of all the kings during the gambling match. They sort of cheated during the gambling match. He actually, had some sort of magical dices that caused Yudhishthira to lose his whole kingdom, his brothers, everything, all his possessions, all his wealth, everything. Not only just once, but twice. And then he was actually, the whole Pandavas were exiled as well for 12 years and then 1 year in incognito. So even though during those difficult times, they were suffering so much had been taken away from there. Can you imagine your own house being taken away, that you've spent all your lifetime, your livelihood, building up this wonderful house that you would want to live in, then all of a sudden it's all taken away. You can see the current devastation that's happening in Turkey and Syria. The whole livelihood has been completely destroyed in a matter of a day or so through all those earthquakes. Everybody's been traumatized. So many thousands of people have been killed. And the same thing has happened in one way, to the Pandavas. The army that they had, all their family members, has completely been taken away from them because they were put into exile. So Queen Kunti, being a mother, she was also very protective of her children, and just as any mother would be. The mother has a greater affection to their children than the father in some way. You see that even in the animal kingdom, that the mothers will always try and protect their offsprings from any dangers, from any predators. And even in human society, you can see the mothers would do anything just to ensure that their child is taken care of, loved, protected, fed properly, good rest, good clothing itself. So even though the Pandavas were suffering so much, Queen Kunti ensure that they were always taken care of at all times. And even it actually shows you, like even Gandhari, because she lost all her 100 sons, she lost Duryodhana as well. She cursed Krishna as well. She was very angry. She was not in a state of mind to actually think of the right things and the wrong things. In fact, she was a very pious person. Even Dhritarashtra was a very pious person. But because they were poisoned by the words of their son, their envious son, Duryodhana, they did not understand fully the whole the religious dharmic situation in understanding what's right and wrong because of I suppose from the words of Duryodhana himself. So she actually cursed Krishna that because of you, our sons have been killed. So I curse you that all your dynasty will be destroyed in 36 years. And that's exactly what happened. And it was actually Lord Krishna's plan, because the Kshatriyas were becoming very powerful. They were becoming very proud. They were becoming, they weren't following the structures of dharmic principles. They were not obeying the Brahmanas as well. It actually mentioned that Bhishma Dev was saying that you actually been protected by the Brahmanas. Now, it's so important to understand how important the Brahmanas are, how important the Vaishnavas are, because when we recite the verse, Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Taicha Jagatita Krishnaya Govinda Namo Namaha. So the Supreme Lord, Krishna, Govinda, he is actually very protective of the cows, and is very protective of the Brahmanas, and also very protective of the human society for the welfare of the world as well. So by the righteous Brahmanas, we actually have to have faith in the Brahmanas that they will always protect us from whatever difficulties that we have. Now, there's a great story when Bali Maharaj, he overthrown the Lord Indra in the heavenly kingdom. Although they tried to take the heavenly kingdom once, twice, several times, eventually they won, and Bali Maharaj was ruling the heavenly kingdom. And Aditi, she was the mother of all the demigods. She was feeling very remorse. She was feeling very sad for Indra, and all her children had their righteous place to the throne been taken away, the heavenly kingdom been taken away, Bali Maharaj was in there instead. So she prayed to Lord Vishnu, and eventually after doing tapasya for many months, Lord Vishnu came in front of her and understood Aditi's sort of intention, and she asked, what did she want? What can I do to serve you? And Aditi actually said, look, I want you to destroy Bali Maharaj, and I want our kingdom back so that Lord Indra could be back on the throne as the king of heaven. Now, what did Lord Vishnu say? Does anybody know? In response to Aditi's prayers or request? Okay. So Lord Vishnu said, unfortunately, I cannot take him away from his throne right now because he is protected by the Brahmanas. And that's how powerful the Brahmanas are. Because Krishna feels subordinate to the Brahmanas, he cannot take away the vows or the protection of the Brahmanas. He cannot put him into a situation or cause distress to his own devotees. Because Bali Maharaj was protected by the Brahmanas, by his own spiritual master, Shukracharya, he was actually put in a particular position that even Lord Vishnu cannot take him away from his throne. But he did promise to Aditi that I will come in a form as Vamandev, as a young child, and then I will be able to get your kingdom back in a different way. So Vamandev, who was a dwarf, when he was actually at the time of conception, transferred to Aditi, and then as a four-armed Vishnu form, and then as a Maharaj, Bali Maharaj was seeing this wonderful, beautiful boy. He looked like Lord Vishnu himself, and he was a very righteous person, Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj asked Vamandev, what would you like, And he said, I'd like just 3 steps, because Vamandev was happy to give him everything. Before giving him everything, was happy to give him anything. But of course, Shukracharya said, what are you doing? This is Lord Vishnu in disguise. But because Bali Maharaj, he made that promise to the Brahmana, he said, I cannot go back on my my vow, otherwise, going back on my vow, I rather prefer death than going back on my vow, If you do certain crimes like that or break a promise to the Brahmana, then you will know exactly what will happen in your next life. So eventually, Bali Maharaj, he sort of said, please ask whatever you want. And he asked for 3 steps. And of course, with the first step, he took all the material planets, and the second step, the heavenly planets. The third step, he said, look, there's no other spaces for the third step. Bali Maharaj, understanding that this is Lord Vishnu himself, although his own, the demons were trying to attack Lord Vishnu, but Bali Maharaj said, no, don't attack him, you can place the third step on my head. So that's what he did. And that's why he became one of the Mahajans, Bali Maharaj. In fact, I'm not sure if Indradev is one of the Mahajans, just remind myself. No, Indradev isn't one of the Mahajans, but certainly Bali Maharaj is one of the Mahajans. And Vamandev actually gave him a planet that was supposed to be even more opulent than the heavenly planets itself. And not only that, he was actually a personal guard to Bali Maharaj. So this is the stories of course, the story was about the Brahmanas when Bhishma Dev was saying that to Kunti and the Pandavas that they were protected by the Brahmanas themselves. So now I'm just coming to the end of my talk. Just make sure I've covered everything. So we can actually see that when we have trials and tribulations within Srimad Bhagavatam, there's many personalities who are praying to Lord Vishnu for protection, for taking them out of their distressful situation. Does anybody else know any other personalities who are praying to Lord Vishnu for protection, protecting them from death, from fear, from danger?
Prahlad Maharaj?
Yes, Prahlad Maharaj, that's one. Anybody else?
Is it Dhruv Maharaj?
Dhruva Maharaj, yes, because he was in anxiety, he wanted the kingdom, but when he prayed for material reasons, when he saw Lord Vishnu, he said, why was I praying for material objects or purposes? Then he realized that there was something even greater than any material benefit of having a kingdom or a throne. So, yeah, Dhruva Maharaj, anybody else you can think of?
Gajendra.
Gajendra, very good. Krishna Mataji, anybody else?
Draupadi?
Draupadi, yes, she was praying to Krishna, she prayed nobody would protect her, not even her own family, not even her own husbands, the great Bhima, and she prayed to Gopal, please protect me, and he came. Anybody else? Even Lord Indra was constantly praying to Lord Vishnu for protection. And Lord Vishnu, when you read the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's many, many wonderful stories. And Lord Vishnu has specifically come to protect all the demigods from the asuras, from the demons, just like in the story of Bali Maharaj I mentioned earlier on, and Indra Dev. There's many stories where the Devatas are praying to Lord Brahma, please, we're in this dilemma. Please, can you protect us? Please, can you help us in any way? And they go to Lord Shiva, they go to Lord Vishnu eventually, and Lord Vishnu comes and incarnates in all the many avatars, Matsya Avatar, Kurma Avatar, Lord Varaha, of course, Hiranyakashipu, Lord Nrsimhadev to kill Hiranyakashipu, save Bhakta Prahlad, Lord Ramachandra. So there's wonderful pastors where many devotees are in distress and they pray to Lord Vishnu for protection. And this is our duty as well. So what is the essence of the Bhagavad Gita? What is the most important verse from the Bhagavad Gita? Which is
Yada yada hi dharmasya.
Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja.
yes,
Yada yada dharmasya.
that's very good. Sarva dharma parityajya mamakam saranam vraja aham tvam sarva papabhyo mokshayasmi suchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion to surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful actions. Do not fear. So he's actually saying, abandon everything. Don't worry. Just I will give you all protection from whatever distress and difficulties that you have. So this concludes today's class. So please forgive me for any mistakes. If there is any questions or comments or corrections, please do let me know so I don't make those mistakes again. Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, and pranams to Prabhupada.
Hi, Krishna Shailesh Prabhu. Pranams.
How are you? Very
Yeah.
good. Thank you, Prabhuji. Just a question. Just to clarify, you mentioned that we are the Brahma Sampradaya. Actually, the clarification is that we're the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So, Gauranga Mahaprabhu combined the Brahma Sampradaya and the Madhva Sampradaya to create the Gaudiya Sampradaya. So we are actually, the full name of our Sampradaya is Brahma Madhva Gaudiya.
Gaudiya Sampradaya.
So whereas
Yeah.
actually a mixture of two lines coming in that Gauranga Prabhu specifically created the Gaudiya Mat using those two Sampradayas to merge them. That's how our line comes from two Sampradayas merging together.
Sure. So just for clarification, is that Madhava Sampradaya from Madhvacharya? I
Yes.
assume? Yes. Okay. So yeah, it's from that disciplic succession. Yes, we're sort of combined. Thank you for that clarification as well. What I do, I do a bit of research because sometimes you hear different, I suppose, lectures or classes from different devotees. Sometimes it's nice to get the clear clarification as well. And sometimes I prefer to have Prabhupada's clarifications, but on this occasion, I just read it was Gaudiya Sampradaya from Brahma Sampradaya. But thank you for that clarification, Shailesh Prabhu. I always appreciate your input, and also any corrections as well. Okay. Harsha Rani Mataji, are you going to be singing a bhajan? That's what I was told. Harsha Rani Mataji, are you there? No, it doesn't look like it. Okay. Maybe it was for a different day. Normally they do the kirtans on Sundays. Okay. Was there any other questions or comments anybody wanted to make otherwise? Okay, thank you, everyone. Jai Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Bhishma Deva ki, Jai. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you for nice class.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, everyone, for participating.
Please accept our blessings. Vanchakalpatrupasya kripa sindhudevacha patitanam
Thank you.
Titanam Brahmavebhyo Vaishnavebhyo
Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha.
Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai. Antakoti Vaishnava ki Jai.
Jai Guru Maharaj ki Jai. Hare Krishna.